Excuse me, I have to take a call. Hi, this is Harman Kaur. I'm calling to schedule an appointment for tomorrow. Is there an availability for 2 p.m.? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Who here knows what... Hold on, it's my mom. Hanji? Sat Sri Akal Mamma ji. मैं हुण बोल नहीं सकती, मैं कुछ करती हूँ. Okay, bye. So sorry about that. Let me just put this away. Who here knows what code switching is? According to the Oxford Dictionary, code switching is the practice of alternating between 2 or more languages in conversation. One example would be the 2 phone calls. One phone call was me speaking in English to schedule an appointment, and one was me talking to my mom in Punjabi, my mother tongue, to tell her I was busy. Code switching is a skill that I use to communicate with my parents, my elders, and my peers at school. However, code switching has taken on another meaning. Code switching has now evolved from changing your language to changing yourself. And now, I'm going to change to my TED Talk voice. Code switching is harmless until you are forced to do it, and that is where it becomes cultural code switching. Although there are many different interpretations, cultural code switching is when a minority adopts into the dominant group, losing their own culture in the process. And because of cultural code switching, I've experienced the loss of culture and identity. In Punjabi, identity is called pehchan. Pehchan refers to the self-awareness and self-identification that is inherent in an individual. In the Punjabi culture, an individual's identity is deeply rooted in their family's background, community, and their religious beliefs. As a person, your culture is the root of your identity. At school, I downplay my cultural identity to fit into the dominant group, which in my case would be white people. Because of this, I created a school identity, or School Harman. School Harman is the whitewashed version of me. I mentioned whitewash because majority of my school is white, and I'm the only Indian girl in my grade. Whitewash means when a minority has assimilated with white society, or when a minority alters themselves to cater to white people. So I try to keep up with the Western pop culture events, the latest hit TV shows, and the latest pop song just to appeal to the dominant group. And because I'm at school for 8 hours or more every day, I forget to switch my identity. One time, I was hanging out with my cousins, and I forgot to switch from School Harman to Cousin Harman. Cousin Harman is the complete opposite of School Harman. Cousin Harman is a cooler version of Harman. So I forgot to switch, and they said I was talking white. I was so confused. I was thinking, what is talking white? But when they imitated how I talked, I understood right away. Talking white is essentially when you change your voice to sound like a white person. But what does a white person sound like? To them, it sounded more formal, properly enunciating your words, not using slang, and having the standard accent. This was my first experience with cultural invalidation. According to Dr. Miles Durkee, an assistant professor of psychology at the University of Michigan, cultural invalidations are identity threats that intentionally or unintentionally invalidate your identity in one or more social identity groups. One example would be me talking white, because that doesn't fit into the standard of being Punjabi. The second time I experienced cultural invalidation was at my Gurdwara. A Gurdwara is a Sikh place of worship, but it is also where I can hang out with my friends. So I was at Gurdwara talking with my friend, and a girl walked past us. I mentioned this girl because she didn't usually come to Gurdwara, so it was a shock for everyone, and everyone called her a coconut. The term coconut has been used to accuse someone of betraying the race or culture by implying that, like a coconut, they are brown on the outside, but white on the inside. Calling her a coconut invalidated her identity as being Punjabi because she didn't fit into the standard of being Punjabi. I would be lying if I said I've been called a coconut, because thankfully I haven't. But I have been called whitewashed, so I know how damaging those words can be. These experiences led me to focus more on my cultural identity, which I've neglected. Right now, I'm listening to more Punjabi songs, watching more Punjabi movies, and finding more Punjabi memes. But this is not only because of that experience. It's also because my cousin is having his wedding in August. If you didn't know, Punjabi weddings are a week long, so that means a full week of celebrations and traditions. If you've never been to a Punjabi wedding, just imagine a wedding, and now imagine it 100 times bigger and better. So the weddings are really fun. I love going to the weddings. I love the experience. But one thing I don't love is the dancing. It's not that I don't know how to dance. I'm literally on a dance team. It's just that I don't know how to dance to these songs because I don't know the songs. So that entire wedding, I'll be with my cousins, helping with preparations, hanging out with them, dancing with them, and I know for a fact that this wedding will either bring us closer or farther apart based on how well I act like them. Knowing this, I came up with the solution of just code switching into this new Harman, who is super Punjabi. We'll see how that goes. Other than using it to become a new version of ourselves, why do we code switch? We code switch to discuss certain topics, to persuade or impress certain people, or to be in certain groups. Overall, no one wants to be left out, excluded, or judged. This all falls under the social identity theory. Proposed by Henry Tajfel and his colleagues in the 1970s, the social identity theory describes the conditions under which social identity becomes more important than one's identity as an individual. In this theory, there's also an in-group and an out-group. The person that is associated with the group is called an in-group, whereas the person that is not associated with that group is called an out-group. Group identification may be based on factors such as religion, race, sports, personality traits, or physical appearance. One example would be your political affiliation. You would be more friendly to people with the same political views, but more hostile to people with different political views. Overall, group identification gives you a sense of belonging, purpose, and self-worth, as long as it does not exclude the respect for other groups. With my cultural identity invalidated and my American identity mocked, I had no belonging, no purpose, and no self-worth. I spent so much time and energy to appeal to these different groups that I didn't even appeal to myself anymore. It led me to ask myself, who am I? It took a while for me to become just Harman again, but I got there. And I got there by being independent. By being independent, I didn't have to switch to fit into different groups. By being independent, it made me more aware of how I acted in different groups. By being independent, it made me more comfortable with myself. Although I had multiple Harmans, there were always a few traits that stayed: my humor, my determination, and my curiosity. Both school Harman and cousin Harman were both curious about the different cultures. And I think that's who you really are. It's not about the music or the language, it's about being curious, hardworking, and open-minded. I want you to ask yourselves as well, who are you? Are you code switching in a non-harmful way, or have you slid into cultural code switching? Do you judge others who are different, or do you try to understand their ideas and values? Are you uncomfortable around people who are not in your group, or do you try to include them? I believe that what we all need to do is to appreciate our culture, maintain our ideas, and to avoid cultural code switching. Most importantly, maintain your roots, because without your roots, you cannot grow. Thank you.